Good morning, beloveds. I came in to do the live stream and I discovered one of my cats in here. He's found pretty much the only place the sun is coming into the house right now. He, the other place where they get a lot of good sun, we have a blanket over that door and heavy duty curtains. They're blackout curtains, but they were the heaviest thing we had over the windows. Because we do have a series of windows that face east, but they're all blocked off because of the cold breezes. We're on day 5 of weather. And it was 25 degrees this morning at 8 o'clock, with it feels like in the 18. But today, the sun is out. It will maybe, we're hoping, crossing our fingers, make it to 40 degrees. And for the first day in 5 days, we will get out of feels like in the 20s and below. It's been an experience and not one I'm willing to repeat anytime soon. So please, as I have been asking, continue your treatments. One of the biggest challenges that we have here is that our houses aren't insulated the way that they are where they have this weather regularly. The houses don't hold heat. And that's part of why it was hard to keep the pipes warm. And yeah, it's been an experience. So please continue your treatments. The sun coming out today was a big thing. It's a big thing. It will help us to take a new look at what needs to be done now. So, but 365, Science of Mind. Let's see what Ernest has to say today. Okay, it is February 19th. 19th? Yes, it is February 19th. And our title is The Divine Presence Within Me is My Authority. Thou wilt keep him in perfect peace, whose mind is stayed on thee. And that is Isaiah 26:3. The divine presence within each of us is both the center and circumference of our real being. It is the infinite presence that inhabits eternity and finds a dwelling place in our own consciousness. We recognize it as the only authority there is. We know that we are one with it and in it, for there is no separation from it. Our own consciousness is the very depth and height of its being and is one with all that it is. There is an infinite self-knowingness which we call the Spirit. It is ruled by law and impelled by love. Each of us is an individual center in it, without being an individual separate from it. We are rooted in the one, which produces limitless variety. Therefore, God is uniquely individual and uniquely personal to each one of us. We are not one in God or one with God, but we are one of God. Although the identity is the same in essence, it is not the same in degree. If there were a sameness in degree, we would have already exhausted the possibility of the infinite. And having done so, our continued existence would be a cosmic tragedy because there would be no place to go and nothing to see. Everything would have been used up. let us keep our thoughts turned to the divine presence within us and within one another, deeply desiring that we become more aware of the love that we have for one another and the world. May our consciousness be opened to a deeper understanding of life. In the beauty and quiet of this moment, I commune with the divine presence. The certainty of love and friendship flows into my consciousness, and I feel a deep peace. I give thanks for my increasingly beautiful life. Okay, I have no idea what I just read. And that's one of the reasons why I went from just reading the daily guide to working my way through it. Because the truth is sometimes the initial reading is confusing. And so I'm going back and taking it apart for myself, and hopefully that you benefit from me taking it apart as well. And that's why I do this. At first, when I started this, it was just a way to have a comforting voice saying comforting words that gave you something to meditate on when the world went crazy at the beginning of the COVID. And then it became a spiritual practice for me because it allowed me to dig into it. So I'm going to do that now because, like I said, today's reading, I don't have anything yet. So I'm going to work it. All right. Although the title, The Divine Presence Within Me is My Authority. Now, bear in mind with the Bible quote, Isaiah is a exile prophet. Be that before, during, or after the exile. This is when the Hebrew people were finding their identity, nailing their identity down, and then working on keeping their identity. Thou wilt keep him in perfect peace, whose mind is stayed on thee. So basically, no matter what's going on around us, if we can focus on spirit, if we can focus on God, if we can focus on peace, if we can focus on, well, peace was part of it, harmony, if we can focus on the qualities of God, then we will be able to keep peace in our mind. And if we can keep peace in our mind, then we can deal with the chaos going on around us. So focus on spirit, focus on the qualities of spirit, and then no matter what is happening around you, you will have the ability to respond rather than react. So, the divine presence within each of us is both the center and circumference of our real being. This is math. So basically, the center point is that unfiltered, but what circles around us is also God. So it's like, it's all God. It's all God. It doesn't always feel like it. Frequently it doesn't feel like it, but it's all God. It is the infinite presence that inhabits eternity and finds a dwelling place in our consciousness. Okay. It is the infinite presence that inhabits eternity. Time means nothing to spirit, but yet it still finds a place in our consciousness, and we are time bound. We are time bound. When we are in mortal form, we are time bound. So the infinite presence has nothing to do with time, and yet still lives in time with us, through us. We recognize it as the only authority there is. I'm sure he's going somewhere with this, so I'm just going to let that lie. We know we are one with it, capital I, and in it, again, capital I, for there is no separation from it. Big, big, big point that Ernest makes frequently. All separation is illusion. We cannot separate from the infinite. We cannot separate from spirit because we're literally made up of spirit. Our own consciousness is the very depth and height of its being, capital I and B, and it is one with all that it is. We have access to everything spirit is. But because we are bound in the material, we don't have access to it all at once. The material form isn't built to handle that. Because if we could do it all at once, then we wouldn't, it would take away the opportunity to have the experience. You have an experience in small chunks, not all at once. Which is why when things kind of happen all at once, we don't remember anything. There is an infinite self-knowingness, which we call the Spirit, capital S. It is ruled by law and impelled by love. And that's one of the things that Ernest likes to talk about, is that Spirit, or God, cannot violate its own nature and cannot violate its own rules. So when we say it can't violate its own rules, it can't violate its nature. So its nature is peace and harmony and creativity and, moving forward. God cannot violate those rules. And impelled by love, because that is the central point of what we call spirit. Love. That is the greatest power in the universe. Each of us is an individual center in it without being an individual separate from it. One of the more powerful images that I got early on in this was to think of a net. An infinite net, and we're the knots. I mean, it doesn't even come close to describing it, but it's a one way that you can see it's all interconnected. Or you can think about a spider web. Same thing, where the lines cross, where the knots. So we are an individual knot in an infinite net. We are rooted in the one, which produces limitless variety. Therefore, God is uniquely individual and uniquely personal to each of us, which means that we are all going to have our own experience of spirit, which is why I love the saying that there are many paths to the top of the mountain. The only person who is wrong is the one running around the bottom telling everybody else that they're wrong. It's like every single one of us is going to experience spirit slightly different. We're going to experience God slightly different. So I think what I'm really saying here is that we don't have the right to tell each other that we're wrong when we are experiencing spirit. Now, that being said, yeah, if we are experiencing, and I'm going to use air quotes there, God outside of the qualities of God, the unity, the peace, the harmony, the creativity, all of those, then yeah, we're wrong. Because there are a whole lot of people who are talking about God who are not using the qualities of God. No. So those people, it's like, we don't want to tell them that they're wrong. We just want to know that they are children of God and that they will find their way. And we also want to show them. It's like, we can talk all we want, but until we show, what good are our words? More than words. If I took the words away from you, how would you show me? And that's kind of one of the things about Science of Mind. It's like, we want to live our lives in such a way that you want to come to us and go, what do you know that I don't know? All right. We are not one in God or one with God, but we are of God. Okay. We are not one in God or one with God, but we are one of God. That is a sentence that I could probably repeat that to myself for the rest of the day and still have to think about it. Basically, of God. We came from the same source. We go back to the same source. We're made up of that source. We are of God. We are children of God. That's why Jesse uses the term godlings, like saplings. Although the identity is the same in essence, it is not the same in degree. I mean, it's the same source, but we have an infinite variety. If there were a sameness in degree, we would have already exhausted the possibility of the infinite, and having done so, our continued existence would be a cosmic tragedy because there would be no place to go and nothing to see. I think his use of the word degree may be a little confusing. As of right now, I can't think of a better word. We are in the same in essence, but not the same in... Oh, there's got to be a better word. I will think about it. I encourage you to do the same. Deeply desiring that we become more aware of the love we have for one another and the world, may our consciousness be opened to a deeper understanding of life, capital L. In the beauty and quiet of this moment, I commune with the divine presence. The certainty of love and friendship flows into my consciousness, and I feel a deep peace. I give thanks for my increasingly beautiful life. All right. Okay, so our mission today, should we choose to accept it? Because today, I admit, today was one of those, every now and again, he'll throw in one, and or the editors who collected the words, they'll throw in one that makes me go, whoo, I need a doctorate in this. I'm going to work for the rest of my life on this one. Our mission today, should we choose to accept it, is to know that we are of God. To know our source, to know our possibilities, to know that we are part of something so much greater, but yet we have access to it because we are of God. We are of Spirit. It is the essence of our being. And that means that love is the essence of our being. And if we can let that flow, this world is amazing. All right. I encourage you to do something loving for yourself, do something kind for yourself, do something compassionate for yourself, whatever that looks like. And if that means resting, rest. If that means doing something physically active, do something physically active. What people forget is sometimes just taking a hot shower is kindness and love and compassionate for themselves. Washing your face. Or turning your alarm off and letting yourself sleep in. I usually encourage people to do something to engage their mind and their body. And you know what? I haven't. I have not. I have kept up with my active hours, but I have not gone for a walk. I have not gone for a run. I have not done any of that. Because I needed to stay snuggled up underneath that layer of blankets and that layer of cats. And that was what was loving and kind for myself all week. And I will start out anew on Monday. So, yeah, you've got to take care of yourself. It's like what they say on the airplanes. When the oxygen masks drop, put your mask on first, then help your neighbor. You can't pour from an empty cup, so take care of yourself. Be loving with yourself. Be kind with yourself. Be gentle with yourself. Be compassionate with yourself. Because the more you do for yourself, the more you will have to share with everyone that comes across your path. So, yeah. And always bear in mind that you are a beloved child of God. You are a beloved child of Spirit, in whom Spirit is well pleased, always and forever. So while I'm still not opening my windows, in fact, most of them are still covered with pretty heavy blankets, I do encourage you to open the windows of your soul and allow that breath of heaven to remind you, you do live in heaven now. You are a child of God. And you have access to the source because you are of the source. All right, beloveds? Do what you need to do to take care of yourself and make it as wonderful as you can. All right? Yeah. And drink plenty of water, including hot tea. Stay warm.